Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, everyone, for your testimony. It's a pleasure to be on here for a second consecutive term here on our Gaming Oversight Committee. But once again, we appear to be addressing the issues that we were trying to address last year. I noticed that in your testimony on page 13 and 14, you talked about anti-money laundering and responsible gaming. It seems, again, on here that we're dealing with the same issue we dealt with last year about credit card gambling. I find it infuriating because I have talked to a number of constituents all throughout my district. I've actually attended Gamblers Anonymous meetings, and I've gone to a number of different platforms to talk about this issue. It seems, once again, we're at the same push, once again, pushing for credit card gambling in the state, which is currently illegal with only small exceptions done through a pilot program through our lottery and also through cash advances at our physical casinos. I ask you, why are we pushing for credit card gambling with this legislation?
I think, number one, credit cards has become a way of life for most commerce that happens within our country. I'd also note that with horse racing, credit card gambling's been occurring for many, many, many years with none of the, issues that can come up. I think one point to just get to the responsible gaming piece, because it's very important to us, and I know the industry as a whole and to the regulators, is I would proffer to you that online there are even more, with a credit card, there are even more protections than you can have in a brick and mortar space, particularly brick and mortar space where somebody can leave one casino and go to the next, because we will know you, and a customer who comes in can set limits on dollars, limits on time, all kinds of things that you can't do in a brick and mortar space.
I'm glad you're knowledgeable. Can you tell me what percentage of your gamers are problem gamers then?
Generally, there's a number of about 2%, a little bit under 2% is, I think, the national level that's been deemed problem gambling by the scientific criteria that reach that.
And those are your numbers?
Those aren't our numbers. Those are numbers that worldwide apply when they do prevalence studies to any population.
If you're accumulating these numbers, though, and you're touting what you're doing, I would think that you would have these numbers on what would be considered problem gamers within your market.
Well, hopefully we have zero problem gamblers. We're in the business of entertainment. We're not in the business of doing business with problem gamblers. That's not good for us. That's not good for somebody who has a problem. And there is a medical issue with a certain percentage of the population, and we take that seriously.
I would hope so, too. I come from a gaming background who dealt with problem gaming quite a bit at Mohegan Sun Casino. I worked there and had to deal with it on a daily basis. I have one quick follow-up question on a separate issue. In Bloomberg Business Week, roughly a month ago, not even quite a month ago, it was in mid-February, they had an article about Libratus. Have you heard about this machine?
I have not.
Well, it was developed from people from Carnegie Mellon, and it was at the Pittsburgh Supercomputing Center, which was part of a 20-day tournament with pros across the country, where this artificial intelligence machine took $1.8 million by outplaying these players. And what an article has been deemed that this could be the end of Internet poker as we know it. I'm happy to share the article with you, but
I actually did read it. I didn't know it referred to as Bratus. But so, I mean, there's all kinds of computers that can do fantastic, amazing things. I think what's very clear, and the regulators insisted upon us, and we would do it as a matter of business, is we have lots of requirements to avoid fraud and collusion, and including that to ensure that robotics aren't playing other players. So we have a whole bunch of sophisticated algorithms running as players are playing poker to ensure that look for something out of the ordinary or some different things that cause red flags to come up that deal with those kind of robotic type things, because we don't want them playing, nor do our customers.
Can I just jump in on the first point and the second point? The first point is there is an online database for self-excluded problem gamblers that at registration the user is checked against, and they are checked against again at login. So anyone that has self-excluded by no means can get around that system if they have an account. On the next part about bots, if you just look at this transaction I told you, we do have a requirement to detect running processes on a device, and this is it doesn't exclude bots. So if you can see that any type of fraudulent software is running on a device, that can be added to our system and blocked. So it is all regulated because it's all visible. In the regulated markets, the fraud software has to sit on the device. So it's actually quite a player hurdle in some use cases. Like if you look at internet gaming, it's technically a download application in highly regulated markets so that we can see what is happening on the device and block these types of
And I want to thank you for your testimony, and I just want to say I find it awfully concerning that you can quote figures about all sorts of different numbers, but can't quote figures about your personal problem gaming that you see within your own area. I find that very concerning, and that it's a very much an afterthought of the industry right now. This is my area of focus. I think the committee is sick of hearing these 2 cents of me about this, but it is an issue that constantly is made second fiddle to all of our other concerns of how quickly can we bring in revenue. I appreciate your testimony today, but I think there's a lot more that we have to be doing, especially when we can make cash transfers out of bank accounts, but instead we're still pushing to tie credit cards to gambling that people might not be able to afford. I find it very troublesome of where we might be going, and I just want to say thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak today.